Welcome back to another episode of For Expedition Adventurer. In this episode, we venture out to northern Montana, Idaho, and we reach Oregon on our fourth leg of our summer road trip with our new Go Fast camper. Join us for beautiful sights and scenes as we explore the western United States.
The next episode of For Expedition Adventure starts now. Well, hello my friends, and welcome back to another episode of For Expedition Adventure. I'm Scott Luthold. Well, this video is going to be a little bit different from the other two videos that I put out having to do with our summer road trip up to Bozeman, Montana. Some of you know this already. By the end of this episode that I'm sharing with you today, you will find out that I injured my back on our summer road trip. We ended up going from Jackson, Wyoming, all the way up the Idaho border into Montana. We ended up staying in Dillon, Montana for a night. From there, we went up to Missoula and then continued on up along the eastern shore of Flathead Lake and ended up spending a little bit of time in Big Fork. From there, we went on further north and ended up in Whitefish, spent a little time there, went all the way up to the top of Montana to Eureka, and then found ourselves in Libby, Montana, spent quite a bit of time in Troy, Montana, and then made our way over to Idaho, to Sand Point, and down to Coeur d'Alene. And from there, we made our way over to Portland. Well, from the time I was in Libby, Montana, all the way over to Hood River and then Portland, I injured my back really bad. And by the time we got to Portland, I ended up in the emergency room, and I could hardly even move, and it was just in excruciating pain. From Portland, we ended up hightailing it all the way back home direct. Heather drove us 21 hours straight home back to New Mexico. So this video, we're going to be sharing with you some of our experience of the drive along the way and some of the cool things that we saw all the way up through Idaho, Montana, and then back into northern Idaho, and then even over to Hood River. And then after that, we pretty much dropped the ball on our summer vacation. Unfortunately, we were going to go all the way down the Oregon coast and then into Northern California, down the California coast, and then back over to New Mexico, and just didn't work out that way. Nonetheless, we do have a lot of great footage to share with you. It was a fun trip from the time we left the Grand Tetons and all through Idaho and Montana. We had a really nice time. So I'm going to share all that with you here. I really hope you enjoy this episode, so sit back and enjoy the ride. So at my brother's recommendation, we decided to hit Mesa Falls, which is located north of Idaho Falls, sort of, I guess, quarter way between Idaho Falls and West Yellowstone. Anyhow, he recommended that to me years ago, and I wasn't able to come here, and my sister got here before I did as well, and we decided to come down here and check it out. Interesting thing to point out that a guy told us in the parking lot. He said if you have a national park pass, the $5 fee that you have to pay to get in here to Mesa Falls is covered under your park pass. So we bought a park pass when we went into Yellowstone. We've now used it at Yellowstone and Grand Teton and here at Mesa Falls, and the thing cost us $80. Entrance fees into the national parks are about $35 each, and this is $5. So literally we only have $5 to make up for the cost of an annual national park pass, and we've only had it for a couple of days. Really good deal if you're in the United States and you're going to be tooling around and visiting all the national parks. Get yourself an annual park pass for $80. So we're going to make our way down there, go down those steps and check out the falls. is it?
Somewhere in the middle.
All right, you pick. Go ahead. There you go.
The thing that's different about a burger vacation here. Is it as cold as the mountain?
What's that?
Is it as cold as the mountain water?
No, it's much warmer.
He's so cute. He's braver than I. I couldn't do this. Look at this. Ugh. You feel better?
Feels so much better. It's like 90 degrees out.
I think it is 91. Good job. Ooh, it's chilly.
Well, we've been traveling along Lake Koocanusa, which is a gigantic lake that probably spans hundreds of miles from Canada down into the United States and Montana. And there's hardly anything along either side of this lake. We got to the bottom of it near Libby, Montana, and came across the Koocanusa Dam. And I have to tell you, this is just an incredible place. I think this would be an amazing place for a motorcycle trip on road. I also think it would be a great place for a paddling trip, probably starting from the dam going north, depending on how the wind blows. You could also have a sail on your sea kayak and take this probably a couple hundred miles. There's a couple of spots where you can drop down to the water. There's camping. I am just blown away. And this is we actually traversed over to this lake from Eureka, Montana. So we were checking out Eureka as a possibility for another location for expedition. I had been looking at Eureka as a town to look at as having potential. But I tell you, there's some incredible outdoor adventure opportunities here, including very, very long, remote dirt roads for overlanding. When we were in Whitefish yesterday, or actually this morning, we had a guy camping next to us who is a long-range bike packing guide, and tomorrow morning he's heading out on a 2-week trip with a group of maybe 6-8 people. Really great guy. He tells me that he also goes on extended 2-month-long guided bike packing trips, and a lot of it in this area. Dirt roads, really, really incredible. I've never been up in this area before. If you've never been up here, I would highly recommend taking a drive along this lake from Libby north to the Canadian border, and then over to Eureka, maybe back down to Whitefish, And there's a couple of forest roads that go along Glacier National Park going north-south that I would recommend as well. Here we are. Found a nice camp spot on Seeker, which is a free camping app up in the mountains outside of Libby in the National Forest.
Perfect. 29-second camp setup. That's our red carpet.
So one thing we don't have yet is a level, and so far we're just going by eye shot of whether or not the tent is level and which end we're going to put our heads at. We've tried sleeping with our heads at both ends, in the wedge and in the high side. Turns out we actually like sleeping with our heads in the wedge, and the reason is because these windows right here are easily opened and closed, and when you lay there, your head does not hit the ceiling at all. There's plenty of room. In fact, I would say that my sleeping the long way here, my head ends up right about here on the window, so it's not bad at all. And then when we're both side sleepers, and when Heather sleeps on her stomach as well, but when we sleep on our sides, we can face those windows and we can open those wide open and really have a nice view. We haven't really opened this door or the back door or the door on the other side all that much yet, and I don't know why that is, just haven't. It's a little less convenient than opening up the little triangle windows. So I just leveled it up so that our heads could still be at this end this evening, and it would be relatively level.
Camping in grizzly bear land. He could come around this corner at any time. But he won't, because this is salsa, not honey pot. Right,
Spilled
Winnie the
salsa.
Pooh?
It's spilled.
Messy, messy.
Well, good morning. Today we woke up just north of Libby, Montana in the National Forest, and we then made our way into Libby, and we're now going up Highway 2 along the Kootenai River. And we came across a rest area called Kootenai Falls, so we decided to go check it out. Really beautiful area here along the river. Yesterday we drove along a gigantic lake which was created on this river from the Libby Dam. And so now we're below that dam, below Libby, and we're going to check things out.
It's like we're in Jurassic Park. Oh my gosh, it bounces.
Wow. Watch this. Well, one thing's for sure, we spent a lot of time on riverways on this trip, probably about 10 different rivers. And along most of them, there's been some caliber of epic waterfall. And this one definitely does not disappoint. I think one of the things I find most astonishing about all of these rivers is just how blue they are. Turquoise, blue, and green, as opposed to being brown, let's say, like the Colorado River. Really, really beautiful. You can see the bottoms of a lot of these rivers, even in areas of a lot of rapids like this. Really something else. What would you think of that?
That was cool. One of those unexpected free roadside attractions.
That's right.
Nice.
Right.
And we got some exercise this morning.
That's right. On to the next thing, right?
Which is what? I don't
Onward
know.
and upward. We don't know.
Yeah.
So we're currently coming to you from the Ross Creek Cedar Grove, which is located just south of Troy, Montana. And I'm going to backtrack just a little bit to tell you how we got here. After we left the waterfall, we ended up going into the town of Troy, and there's a beautiful little town there and an old bridge. And we drove across the bridge, and we stopped halfway across the bridge and took a couple of pictures. Well, while we were on the bridge taking pictures, a vehicle, a Toyota Tacoma, came up behind us and waited until we took our pictures. Then we continued to get across this bridge. And when we got to the other side, the couple that was in that Toyota stopped us and talked to us and said, you know, a year or two ago, we took the same exact picture and now we live here. And I thought that was kind of fun. So anyway, we talked with them for about an hour, and they ended up pointing us to a piece of property that's for sale in Troy near the river. And so we went out and took a look at it and just thought it was just this remarkable piece of property and had some old cabins on it that were pretty dilapidated. So we ended up going into town to talk to the realtor, and we thought, oh, maybe we'll put an offer on this property. So they put us in touch with a local credit union to pull our credit and all that kind of thing. Well, as it turns out, we decided to stay overnight in Troy at a local RV park. And while we were at the RV park, the owner of the RV park, the husband and wife, really great couple, told us about this place. And they asked us, what direction are you going when you leave Troy? Are you heading up to Bonner's Ferry, or are you heading south? Where are you going? So we told him, and he said, well, if it were me, I would head south out of Troy on, I think it's Highway 56, and it takes you down past Bull Lake. And just past Bull Lake, there's a turnoff, and it goes back to this incredible grove of cedars. And so he gave me a brochure on it, and I read about it, and it turns out some of these cedars are 1,000 years old. And it's just an incredible place. It reminds me a lot of being in a redwood forest on the California coast. But here we are in northern Montana. A really, really beautiful place. So we're going to walk around. I'm going to show you what there is to see in this beautiful grove of 1,000-year-old trees. You know, being here reminds me of a book that I've read once called Anastasia. If you haven't read it, it's a really cool book, and it talks about the singing cedars of Siberia. Check that book out. I'll link for it down in the bottom of this video description, but it's a really cool book, and I encourage people to read it. It's very whimsical, but it talks about these incredible singing cedars. Well, that was truly extraordinary. As it turns out, when we were walking through there, we read some of the signage that talked about not only cedars but hemlocks, and that they actually work together to create a canopy because both types of trees really like moisture, and so they block out the sun with their shade. It's really a beautiful, beautiful story of partnership and companionship. All right, honey, on to the next place.
All right, where's that? Sandpoint.
I think maybe Sandpoint. Let's do it.
Well, although we were on our way there yesterday, and we
Yeah.
ended up in Troy for a day and a half, so
That's true.
we'll see.
We'll see.
Well, good morning, everybody. We made our way to Portland, and we're at the furthest point of our loop for our road trip this summer. Unfortunately, 2 days ago, I pulled something so bad in my back that I had to go to the emergency room yesterday, and it just got increasingly worse and worse and worse. So I had to get some medication, and unfortunately, I can't really walk. I'm laying on my back, and it just hurts to sit up or stand. And so Heather and I have been contemplating what we want to do, and it's about a 24-hour drive back to New Mexico from Portland, and that would be all Heather's driving. So rather than going down the Oregon coast and the California coast, we're considering just hightailing it back home. And unfortunately, Heather's going to have to do all the driving, and I'll probably just lay on the back seat. So really a big bummer. We're just getting into the area where we really wanted to spend some time down the coast, but you know, life serves punches. Sometimes you just got to roll with it, and we're considering, just like I said, just heading home. So Anyhow, I know you were looking forward to a lot of videos going down the Oregon and California coast, but we'll just have to come back to that and do it another time.
It's hard to breathe inside the dome. I used to call home, stuck in the world that I was craving for. I try to change the way I see the world around me, but every time I end up where I began. In the same way, I always do my part. I try to make it stay. It's the same play, but with a change of heart.
Home sweet home.
Look at the driveway grass. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Everything's so tall. 2 weeks, we got some wildflowers and stuff everywhere.
What kind of hoodlums live here?
Can't see the cabin, but there's Songbird Cabin right there. Nice job, honey. Give me 5.
Let's go to bed now. We made it.
Well, all right, my friends, I think that's it for this episode of 4 Expedition Adventure. I really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as Heather and I enjoyed creating it. If you haven't become a subscriber to our channel, we encourage you to hit that subscribe button. Of course, be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified when videos go live. And if you consider yourself to be an adventurer and you're looking for an adventure community, consider joining us at Team 4X by going to 4expedition.com/join to learn more. Until the next time, take care.